Henry, and I'm going to do my guided reading mini lesson presentation. This will be aimed towards fourth or fifth grade, and it's about Charlotte's Web. And the first thing we do is in a guided reading group with anywhere, 3, 4, 5 different students, preferably on the same instructional level. That way we can kind of read along and discuss, introduce the topic. So, for example, I'd select a book and I would do Charlotte's Web. And I'd have a brief introduction, something simple like, has anyone heard of Charlotte's Web? And we'll kind of look for raised hands, and we'll talk about, read the first chapter together, work on reading comprehension. But I think it's important to first, we would have the book, ideally, because I think it's an excellent book to use in the classroom itself, to have a classroom copy and kind of look at the title or the author, the illustrator, and ask them to kind of be investigators and find clues and think what Charlotte's Web might be about. You know, what they see, if they see the pig, the spider, whatever they think, and kind of have them guess and predict what they think might happen in the book. And it's always important for them to be able to identify the author and the illustrator. And then after that, we're going to share examples. So I'm going to look at the title page, like I said, and maybe even take a picture walk. This book, Charlotte's Web, there's limited pictures, but maybe just kind of run through the pages real quick, just so they get a little more acquainted with the book, so they're comfortable with it. And then next, I'd provide information. So before I read, or I'm gonna have the students read the title, the author, the illustrator, then discuss everything we can find from the book. And then at the end, or the next, we're gonna define some key vocabulary, some reoccurring words that might show up in the book that students may not know. Kind of discuss what that is and what they mean, as well as giving them a little background information. Obviously, it's a fiction book. There's talking, and the spiders, the pigs. There's talking animals. So, in case students, if I'm with some English learners, ELL students that might not have that background knowledge, that why in this book are we reading? Like, are the animals talking? So we can kind of explain and clarify everything. Then read a supervised practice and read the first page, and then perhaps popcorn read. So, for example, I would say before any students, I would start and I'd say chapter 1. Before breakfast. Where's Papa going with that axe? Said Fern to her mother as they were setting the table for breakfast. Out to the hog house, replied Mrs. Arable. Some pigs were born last night. I don't see why he needs an axe, continued Fern, who was only 8. Well, said her mother, one of the pigs is a runt. It's very small and weak, and it will never amount to anything, so your father has decided to do away with it. Then I would call on the next person to read the next paragraph, and then we'd go so on and so forth. And again, helping with some challenging words, and just overall reading comprehension. But it's important for everyone to read, get a chance to read and learn. At the end, after that, I give the students highlighters to highlight any unknown words in the text that they need, so we could talk about that afterwards. And then they'll complete a reader response activity. To assess the learning, I'm going to have the students share the reader response to the rest of the group. That way they can discuss and they can pick up and learn new ideas off of each other. Because I think it's important for not them just to learn from me and from the book, but to learn from each other. And I'm going to ask the students what are some effective reading strategies they can do before reading the book. And I'm going to look for answers, as in whether for a book, taking a picture walk, learning some recurring vocabulary in the book, finding the author, finding the illustrator, just looking at the title, different things like that. And then afterwards, the final thing is let the students revisit the text independently. So even if it's just rereading what we've already read, but having them do it independently to kind of gain that confidence. And then I just would do a basic reflection as what were the pros and cons of this lesson? Was it a time efficient lesson? And do I think any other groups would benefit from this lesson? So that's kind of a simple, a short guided reading activity I could do with Charlotte's Web. Obviously, we would read more than one paragraph, but for time's sake, I'm not going to read a whole chapter for you guys. And that's my guided reading lesson for Charlotte's Web. Thanks.